Hello YouTube, welcome to my very first video. My name is Raven Molden. I am a flight attendant. I'm a wife, a new wife. I just got married in September 14th. I'm a mother of two beautiful boys named Wesley and Leo. But this is my very first video, and this video is specifically for the people who have questions about being a flight attendant. This is my frequently asked questions flight attendant edition video. So welcome to my channel. I'm gonna have a bunch of different videos, mostly about flight attendant, but I also want to include some mommy, some wife, some lifestyle content. I have a lot of stuff that I've been through in my life and I've been through over the past couple of years that I love to talk about with you guys if you're interested. There's so much to share, and I just am so excited to start this journey on YouTube. I've watched YouTube. I became obsessed with YouTube probably about 3 years ago, I'd say. And it was like that's when I really started binge watching it. Nowadays, I don't have that much time to watch it as much as I used to, but that is literally what I do. I'm currently I'm at work right now. I'm in one of our flight attendant hotels that we lay over at. I'm currently in Los Angeles. But I just felt inspired to do my first YouTube video at one of my favorite layovers. So I am here to share some frequently asked questions about being a flight attendant. I get these questions day in and day out. I mean, I'm sure that there are a lot of questions that you guys have, but these are just some of them that are the most asked. So I just felt like I would come on here and share some answers with you guys, from my point of view, of course. So I work for a mainline carrier in the United States. I won't say the carrier right now because I don't even know if I'm supposed to or allowed to, but you guys, I'm sure if I start posting videos in my uniform, you will know exactly what carrier I work for. And most of you guys already know. I absolutely love my job. There's really nothing else at this point that I can imagine doing. I do have some background in some other stuff, but we'll get to that in another video. This job was something that I didn't think was attainable for a lot of people, just because I always thought in my mind that you had to look a certain way, be a certain way, act a certain way, all of that stuff to be a flight attendant. Of course, obviously I learned I'm a flight attendant now, so obviously those things are not true, but it took some digging to find that out before I applied for this job. I just noticed how messy that bed is back there. Excuse me, I'm sorry. I really could have made that up, but I just didn't. This is real life. So how to become a flight attendant. So of course everybody says apply. Yes, you apply. You have to, of course, apply just like any other job that you would ever go to. You have to apply, right? But there are some things that you need to do and have before you apply. So of course, being a flight attendant, you may or may not have international destinations that you have to go to. Regardless, you do have to have your passport. So a passport is a big thing. Education-wise, I think that they don't require a college degree, but I think that it's like preferred. At least when I applied, it was preferred to have a college, like some sort of college, not a degree, but some sort of college. Maybe a degree would make you look better, but of course high school you have to have, or GED, something of the sort. Each individual airline, I will say too, has requirements. As soon as you apply, it'll be listed, and I know diploma is on there. But certain airlines require certain things. Like if you're working for an international carrier, I know that they require way more than a U.S. carrier. So you apply for the job, you have your diploma, you have your passport and all that stuff. There's training with every single airline once you get hired. And it's a process. It is a process. And it is more common than not to get denied your first time or two. I applied to be a flight attendant 3 times, I believe, before I actually became a flight attendant, but this is my first airline. So I got declined. I think I started applying in 2013 or 2012. I applied, got denied, and then I was just like, maybe it's not for me, you know? And then I applied again and got denied again. And I was like, well, that, you know, I don't know what's going on. So I started pursuing other things. I was getting my degree. I had a 2-year-old at the point. I was just, you know, I was trying to live my life on doing other things. I was substitute teaching. It was like a bunch of stuff going on. So I then applied a third time. A friend of mine knew I was looking for a job, like a more career type job. I had just graduated college. She put the application on my page, on my Facebook page. And I, you know, thinking nothing of it, honestly, because I had already got declined. I'm like, let me just try this one more time. Sure enough, that time was my time. I applied for the job. Within a couple of days, I was invited to like an open interview. The interview just happened to be in the city that I live in, so I went. However, this is not the case for a lot of people. A lot of people, the interview is in a state that they do not live in. And yes, you will have to fly there. I'll get to that a little bit later. But it was in my city. I went. I made sure I looked my best and went. And the interview was literally 12 hours long, y'all. Like 12 whole hours. I was like, gosh, like I was about to leave. I was hungry. I was tired. We did get a little bit of a break. There was 3 separate rounds. The first round, and this is, from my knowledge, this is the way that a lot of flight attendant interviews go. I also went to 2 other flight attendant interviews among the process of being denied and all that stuff. You did 1 round and then they cut people. And then they did a second round and then they cut people. And then you made it to the 3rd round and then they cut people. And then they kept some people. So it's a pretty rigorous process. Honestly, some airlines are harder than others, but it is 100% worth it. If you are thinking about doing this job, just do a little bit of research on the airline that you would like to work for. I know for me, I didn't want to commute, so my choices were narrow. I live in Detroit, so I made sure that I stuck to those airlines that have a base out of Detroit. After that, there's some things you have to go through a very extensive background check. You have to get fingerprinted. They do it all. Trust me, I mean, why wouldn't they? It's a very serious job, and we take safety and security very seriously. So I would expect nothing else during the hiring process, you know? Now, this is why I did not at first want to be a flight attendant. Every flight attendant that I had ever seen was about this big. I mean, no offense. That's just how it was. You do have to be a certain height, but that's just what I had seen. Now, mind you, that might not have been what's out there all the time, but that's just what I had seen. So age, no, you do not. I had a woman in my class who was in her 60s. She had already retired from another airline, which doesn't matter at all. I had a couple older people in my class, 60 people were in their 50s and 60s. Some of them had been a flight attendant before, some of them not. It's amazing to know that they do not discriminate when it comes to age. That's amazing to me. Weight. This is something that used to be a requirement. You had to be a certain weight to be a flight attendant. Not anymore. That's what I can say. Some airlines may still discriminate against that, but I know for a fact mine doesn't. And I'm not this big, and I'm a flight attendant, so that is not a thing anymore. It used to be in the written part of the application that you had to be a certain weight and a certain height to be a flight attendant. Height requirement. You have to be at least 5 foot to be a flight attendant, because you have to close the overhead bins and you have to be able to lift stuff and whatever height restrictions that they have or whatever. But I don't think there's a restriction as far as how tall you could be, just a certain amount that you have to be 5 foot. No, not at all. Somebody asked me, Do you have to, if you work for this certain airline, can you put on this airline's uniform and go there and work there? Can you work their planes? Can you work this plane? Can you work there? No, you cannot do that at all. Once you work for a certain carrier, you wear that uniform, you go by their manual, and you work there. So I cannot jump and be like this flight attendant one day, whatever US carriers, like if I, work for this carrier, I can't go and be this carrier. Like, no, you work for one airline and that's who you work for. You fly to the cities that they fly to. You follow their schedule, their rules, their codes, their conducts. Just because I work for this one, that doesn't mean like I work for the airport and I work for all of the airlines. You know what I'm saying? Like no, that's not a thing. This question is another one that is like highly asked. How often do I work? I have more days off than the normal person who goes to work every day. You'll say in a month, let's say this month, there's 30 or 31 days in this month. Come on, Reagan. 31 days in this month, right? And a person's going to go to work Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. They're going to have typically Saturday and Sunday off, right? So that's 2, 4, 6. They have about 8 days a month off, right? I've been at my company for 5 years. I'm about the top 40%, I'll say, in my base of flight attendants. I have at least 16 days off a month. And that's full time. Now, there's been months where I just didn't feel like going. I mean, there was a month I was on maternity leave. I had 18, 20 days off a month. It just depends on what you are doing that month, what you schedule yourself to work pretty much, how the grid works, all this stuff. This is like flight attendant stuff that I will definitely get into in a later video. When you live this life, it's hard to convert back to go into the other life. I mean, I know people who've done it, but it would be hard for me to convert to the other side because I just get so many days off. It works for me. I look at stuff and I'm like, oh, I can do this. Like it's literally so flexible. That is another thing that you need to be and do before you get this job. You need to be flexible. 1000%. That is like, we laugh and joke about it as flight attendants. Like, I'm flexible. Like when we have delays and stuff like that, we laugh and joke about it all day. But like, no, really, you need to be flexible. Like you really need to be flexible. There are times where a trip doesn't go as planned. You're delayed, you're canceled, you're stuck in a city, you're whatever. And you just have to be able to have some flexibility at home, some support. If you have kids, there's so much that goes into it. But once you're in it, baby. And you don't want to come out of it. I'm telling you. But I have at least 16 days off a month. Like I was saying, I plan my schedule around like my husband's schedule and like my kids' schedule, like this trip that I'm on right now. I am only going to be away from home for like 40 hours. So like not even 2 days. I have to be at my son's appointment on Tuesday. So I finagled my schedule to be here on this day. Also, in the airline industry, seniority is literally everything. So I have pretty good seniority where I'm at. I mean, I'm not like super senior flight attendant or anything like that. And I don't get whatever I want, but I do get a lot of the things that I want, just because of where I'm at, where I fall at in the baseline. But it just depends because I don't like to do 4-day trips. I like to do 2 and 3 day trips. So I kind of like fall like, sometimes I get it and sometimes I don't, basically. But I always get at least 16 days off a month, unless I'm really, really wanting to work that month and I'm doing overtime. Then, of course, you shorten your days off, depending on how that goes. Yes, absolutely. Come on now. Yes. Not every city. Like, say I'm working a trip, like we'll just use this trip for example. I went Detroit to Austin, Texas, and then Austin, Texas to LA. Of course, I didn't stay in Austin. It's like how you would go to work from 9 to 5. I'm also at work during that time, but at the end of the day, I am staying somewhere else. So I clocked into work yesterday at about 5:45 p.m. and I didn't get off until about 3 a.m. But when I got off, I was in Los Angeles and not Detroit. When I started, I was in Detroit. So I started in Detroit at 5:45 p.m. I flew to Austin, Texas. I arrived in Austin, Texas at like 9:45 p.m. or 10 o'clock p.m., right? I let people off the plane and I loaded people back on the plane. And then we flew to Los Angeles and I got to Los Angeles around like 3 a.m. Detroit time. It was only 12 a.m. here, but I'm speaking on the same, time zone. So it was about 3 a.m. And then I stayed in Los Angeles. I have about 22 hours here. And tonight I'm going to take the red eye back home. So I'll be home at about 6 o'clock in the morning, Detroit time. That's just how it goes. There's people who are gone for 4 days at a time, and it's like they'll start in Detroit and they'll have 3 different layovers in 3 different cities, but every day they're working. They're like dropping people off in Minneapolis and going to Kansas City and dropping people off there and then going, ending their day in Fort Lauderdale or wherever. It's just, we still work during the day. We just work on a plane all day. It's hard to understand, but once you're here, you're like, oh, and people really don't understand our job a lot. It can be frustrating, but like, I understand why they don't understand it. It's hard. It's hard. This is not a typical job. When I was, younger, I used to think of this job like super mysterious and like, what do they do? And like, I used to just look at flight attendants like, oh my gosh, like, that's why I always wanted to be it. It was different. It was mysterious. It was unique. That is why I'm here. That is me in a nutshell. Absolutely not. I did not ask to be here. No, long story short, everywhere I stay, my company pays for the hotel. They already have that prearranged. They know I'm here. They know I'm coming. They pay for the hotel. We pretty much stay in the same hotels every time. Different circumstances are different. Sometimes, the airline industry, everything is like, sometimes. So, but yes, they always, wherever you're at, wherever you're going, they pay for your hotel. I just touched on this a few minutes ago. Because of my seniority, I pretty much we have like it's called Open Time. It's a sheet it's online of places of trips that are available and open. And, you get your line every month. You could drop, swap, pick up, all that stuff. But then you see from our little Open Time sheet what's available, what's not. And then you go in there and you bid for it. Bidding is based on seniority once again. And depending on where you fall, you might get what you want. You might get denied. Just depends. But you can work your schedule, absolutely work your schedule as a flight attendant just the way you want to. Of course, everybody wants to know how much money am I going to make, right? This is dependent based on airline. Absolutely dependent based on airline. We're paid very differently, and it's very hard to understand. Like, I was trying to explain it to my sister-in-law probably about 2 months ago, and you should have seen her face. Like, she was just like, it was like, I think she understood it, but at the end I'm like, she probably didn't understand that. It's so hard to understand, but most airlines start at $20 an hour. I will say that. You move up every year. Each airline has a top out rate where you can retire. Most, I'll say generally, fall between 12 and 15 years when you reach the maximum top out pay. The top out pay changes based on contract. I work for an airline with a contract. So every 5 years, we get a new contract. That means new pay, new this, new that. Cost of living goes up, everything changes, right? Most airlines start at $20, though I will say that some of them started a lot more than that. Like 25, 26, it just depends on where airline. But all of them in the application, they do have that listed. Also, there's sites like Glassdoor and stuff like that where you can go on there and you could type in the airline that you desire and boom, it's right there. People will tell you it's people that work there, people that are hoping to work there, people that have done a lot of research. So that's how I figured it out. You get a raise every year. At my airline, we get 2 raises every year. We get a raise on our date of hire, and then we also get a raise on the day of our contract signing. So that's how you do that. Some airlines get profit sharing, others don't. Every airline gets per diem. That is like on the hour, every hour that you're away from base, you get paid like a small rate all the time that you're away from base, and it adds up for sure. So like most of them fall between like $2 and $3 an hour, that you're away from base. So say I'm away from base on this trip for, what did I say, 40 hours. So I'll get 40 hours of the smaller rate that I just explained to you. The bigger rate, believe it or not, and people cannot believe this when I tell them this, flight attendants do not get paid until the airplane door closes and we push back from the gate. Like, so literally, the airplane door closes and we push back from the gate. That's when we start getting paid. We do not get paid for delays. Boarding, we don't get paid for boarding. That's crazy, right? Like, I really hope that within the next few years that this changes, but right now this is a 100% fact. People cannot believe it when I tell them that we don't get paid for boarding. We don't get paid in between flights. We only get paid for our block hours, which is when you're flying. That's it. So if you're on a 5-hour flight, you're getting your big rate when you're in the air, when you're flying, when you've pushed back from the gate. So like, if you're delayed on the tarmac, you're getting paid. Like, you land and there's no gate for you or something, you're getting paid. But like, while we're sitting at the gate, worrying about where your infant's gonna sit and boarding you, and in ha-haing, laughing with you, whatever, we are not getting paid for that. People can't believe that. I sometimes can't believe that, but it's worth it anyways, though. So we get our big rate of pay, like our dollar an hour rate. We get per diem. And then some people get bonuses, profit sharing, airlines do different things, you get paid for like, you get lead pay. So this means like if you're flying in the front of the plane and you're in the lead position, you get paid like an extra couple bucks an hour for that. You get paid for, oh my gosh, there's like a lot of little incentives and stuff, like trip. Some airlines do like the trip for pay, like you trade a trip with somebody and like you get paid off of that. Of course, you get overtime. The airline I work for, you get time and a half. Some airlines don't do that. You get time and a half over 85 hours. So full time is like 72 hours. If you go over 85 hours, you get time and a half for that. Holiday pay. Different airlines do different things. Some airlines do like $50 for the day. Other airlines do like time and a half for that whole day. It's all about research, really. What airline do you want to work for? Where do you live? Do you live in Houston? Do you want to work for an airline that has Houston, a base in Houston? Do you live in Chicago? Do you want, it really just depends. Where are you hoping to live, or where are you moving? Where are you going? Or where are you going to commute? Where do you live close to? What flights can you catch and get on easily? Of course, you guys know we get buddy passes. Some airlines get 10 buddy passes a year. Other airlines get 30 buddy passes a year. So the buddy passes are a big perk. I think the people just pay a small fee and you give them your buddy passes. There's like a buddy pass fee or whatever. Some airlines don't even have that. The buddy pass fee. All airlines have buddy passes, I think, though. You get and my airline, my husband, both of my kids, any step kids that I have, they will all fly free. I get to pick my mom and dad, or my mother-in-law and my father-in-law. I could switch them off year by year. Those are benefits that we get. We get all types of benefits. We get car rental benefits, discounts. We get discounts on hotels, vacation packages, cruises. We get all types of discounts for that. And I don't know what other airlines get as far as that type of stuff goes, because I don't, that's like a more like once you're an employee type of thing. They don't have that on their websites or anything. We get, we of course fly for free. Yes, a lot of people ask me too, like, since I work for this airline, can I fly on this airline for free and this airline for free? The answer is yes. Most airlines have a like reciprocal agreement with each other. So we get to fly If my airline doesn't fly to Memphis, Tennessee, I could get on this airline that does fly to Memphis, Tennessee if I want to get there. We have reciprocal agreements like for commuting, for just leisure travel, anything. We have a cabin agreement assignment. Internationally, a lot of times we all have different agreements. It just depends, and we do have to pay the taxes to get there. So say I'm going to Dubai, I will have to pay like the international taxes to go there, but that's all I really have to pay. It's really awesome. We have excellent medical benefits, dental benefits, vision benefits, like amazing. Of course you have to pay, different airline, different, you get what I'm going, where I'm going here. Everything comes down to airline, but for the most part, we are under this umbrella. Like, this is the same as far as benefits go. We get this or a variation of this. You know what I'm saying? This airline that I'm working for, we get excellent health coverage and all of that stuff. 401k benefits, we got us. We're never too young to start saving for our retirement, right? Especially how, now that pensions are kind of like a thing of the past and all that stuff. So we're never too young. We get awesome 401k benefits. Most companies match it. They have a percentage to match. Say you are in this city. Oh, I already told you, hotels and cars. I'm in this city. Say I want to go, there's a car rental place across the street. Say I want to go get a car. I looked today, I think renting a car for the day is like $24 for me, like on my, app and stuff. I mean, we get a lot of benefits. That is mostly, I will say, in my heart of hearts, I feel like this is why most people do this job. The benefits. Where else are you going to get a job where you can travel the world for little to nothing? That's why I don't think most people do this job for money, to be honest, even though the hourly rate is, people, that's debatable. People are like, oh my God, that, when it comes down to it, it's kind of normal pay. But the benefits and stuff, but then once you get, the higher and higher you get, the more money you make for doing the same job. So that is important to note too. But when you first start, I will not tell you, do not expect to be rolling in the dough, because you won't. But the benefits are why most flight attendants that I know have this job. 100%. There's flight attendants that are doing different things. There's flight attendants. One of my flight coworkers is in nursing school. Other people are doing, I substitute teach on the side. We all do different things. Some people are entertainers. Some people are, firefighters and teachers. And it, like, the possibilities endless just because of how flexible this job is. You know what I'm saying? And it's just, if you guys want to hear more about that or have specific questions, just let me know, because I can ramble about that for hours, so just let me know. So commuting, I personally don't commute. I know a lot of people who do. One of my very best friends, who is a flight attendant, she commutes. And it's a whole nother lifestyle. And maybe I can have her as a guest on here one day or something to let you guys know how that exactly works. But I'm just going to give it to you from my knowledge. Let's do it on scenario based. How about that? The airline I work for, say we have a base in Orlando. We do not have a base in, I don't know, Fort Myers. Let's say you're commuting. Now that's a drivable commute. Maybe 5 hours away from each other or something like that, right? Driving. So you could drive the 5 hours, or you could just fly. Like, you can fly. I imagine that it would be a lot harder to drive it. That's 5 hours. But you can catch a flight. So say your report time in your base, which is Orlando for this scenario, Orlando based, you have a report time of 5 a.m. Okay. You would have to get from Fort Myers to Orlando before your report time. That's not the company's business or anything. You just have to make sure you're there in your base to report at 5 a.m. So most people would come in the night before. That's what I think the smartest option would be, because I don't think there's any flights that early. So they'll come in the night before, they'll sleep in the crew room, or they'll get a hotel, which the company does not pay for because you're not on company's time at that point. You are commuting because this is what you decided to do. You will get yourself a room, or I mean, and we get discounts at hotels, and like I just told you, so you might get a discount at a hotel or whatever. Stay at a friend's house, a family's house, whatever, and just be in front of that computer when it's time to check in at 5 a.m. in Orlando. Commuting is none of the company's business. I mean, we do have commuter clauses and stuff where they'll give you mercy if you're a commuter for different, type of things, but exactly what, I don't know. The moral of that story is you can live somewhere else, even if you desire to work in this base, you can still work in this, live in this place and work here. A lot of commuters that I know, they won't do those 5 a.m. report times. There's no flights early enough, and they want to maximize their time at home, right? So they'll do like maybe a 4 p.m. report time. They'll pick up the trip with the 4 p.m. report time, So that's more, smart when you're a commuter. So you'll do like a 4 p.m. show, and you'll fly in that day or drive in that day, whatever it is. So they'll fly in Fort Myers to Orlando, get there at 2:30, go get them something to eat, a coffee, go to the crew room, and just sit and wait until that 4 o'clock report. Then they'll report, and then they'll go to work. And at the end of the day, they get a hotel that the company's paid for because they're at work at that point. But it makes more sense to me to just do the later show times of the commuter so that you can catch a flight out of your home base. I mean, your home that day, but that's just my perspective of commuting. I could find out a lot more information about that. Like I said, one of my best friends commutes, but that's just the basic knowledge that I have of it, like right now, or that I can share because the video is getting kind of long. So this is just my introductory video. Once again, guys, I just wanted to let you guys know, because I get so many questions on Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat. People are just concerned about this. They're wondering, how do you do it? This is not one of the jobs that were like, you're a doctor and you have to do this and this, but like flight attendant, it's like, how do you do that? How do you end up, how did you eat breakfast in Detroit, lunch in Fort Lauderdale, and dinner in LA? Like, how did you do, like, what's going on? Very mysterious job that most people want to know about. So if you guys have any more specific questions, make sure to let me know. I will be more than willing to answer them. I have so much information about stuff that this video would have been 3 hours long had I kept going. Follow me on Instagram at fly.girl.rave, just like YouTube. And I will be here to answer all questions in form of video, or if I could just type a quick response back or whatever, right? So once again, my name is Raven. I am a flight attendant. I'm new to this YouTube community, but I'm so happy to be here. I thank you for all your support and everything, and I look forward to continuing this journey on with you guys. Thank you, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.